everyone, and welcome to Seahawk Central News, your source for the latest news affecting the UNCW community. I'm Janae Randall.
And I'm Sarah Lively. Safe surfing to those internet users checking us out on YouTube.
I hope everyone out there had an awesome Easter break. In our final episode of Seahawk Central News, we'll go over the Guinness World Record attempt last week in Wilmington and give you an inside look of the off-campus Marine Biology Center.
With finals right around the corner, we'll go outside with our fellow students and learn what they have planned for their summer break.
Also, stay tuned for sports with Ben Tyson and Critics on Campus with Chris Vickery.
So sit back, relax. Seahawk Central News starts right now.
Wilmington was the home of a Guinness World Record attempt last Saturday. The Wilmington Railroad Group set out to build the longest model train in the convention center downtown. Kara Trotter was there to capture all the action.
After a year of planning and preparation, it all comes down to today. Well, the Wilmington Railroad Museum set the Guinness World Record for the longest model train.
Tons of volunteers in white shirts lined up around the convention center.
Yes, we're monitors. We're going to watch the trains as they go around so that the children and adults don't cross the line.
Many spectators crowded the convention center. Some came out to see the engines, cars, or sections of track they sponsored. Mayor Sappho even made it out to the event.
We're going to sure come real close to breaking that record. But I guarantee if we don't break it, we'll be back again to break.
But due to problems throughout the setup and runtime, some weren't as confident about the guys setting the record.
I don't know, they seem to be having so much trouble with it uncoupling.
After almost 4 hours of hard work, nerves, and uncertainty, Wilmington Railroad Museum rolled into a Guinness World Record.
I never believed we were going to be able to do it completely.
Train's the best hobby.
Kara Trotter, Seahawk Central News, Till TV.
Thanks, Kara. On April 19, members of the UNCW community took steps towards growing a sustainability garden on campus. The committee members and volunteers helped put together the garden with Phase 1, consisting of 4 raised beds and 12 planters. Phase 2 will take place in May or June and will add 10 to 14 additional raised beds to the garden. Reporter Caroline Keith got the chance to speak with the co-chair of the committee, Diane Reed, about the garden and how it was created.
We are keeping it a sustainable garden, meaning we are using organic materials and also recycled coffee grounds from the dining area. They are taking all their used coffee grounds and storing them for us. And when we built these beds, we put both of those materials in with the soil.
Students and the committee have been planning a garden for several years. Faculty from the Departments of Biological Sciences, Environmental Studies, and Geography have contributed time to provide experimental learning and teaching experiences for students. Produce from the garden will be used for campus dining events and donated to community charities.
Let's go outside and chat with fellow students on Chancellor's Walk.
My plans for this summer, I'm actually staying here in Wilmington. I'm not taking any classes because I'm out of state and they're too expensive, and I'm getting a job.
I'm going to be interning in Washington, D.C. for a field biology intern. I'm working full-time, going back home to Massachusetts.
Surf the waves, shred. That's what I'm all about. Get Guido tan. That's what I like to do.
And this summer I'm going back home and working on Capitol Hill in D.C. for a representative from Texas.
Seems like a lot of people are working, hitting the beach, and sticking around Wilmington this summer. I hope everyone has a happy and safe summer coming up. I'm Jill Cabanano, Seahawk Central News, TLTV.
Thanks, Jill. UNCW's Hawkstream Radio will return to its full function in the coming fall semester. According to station president Jordan Dubrail, UNCW's Student Government Association approved Hawkstream Radio's budget this March. Student Media Coordinator Bill Denome advised the station to stop broadcasting copyrighted music in March 2010 after finding the station had been operating without a broadcasting license. Station managers have been working since to obtain a license, and SGA approved the station to receive $500 towards the cost of purchasing an educational license. The money will come from the mandatory student fee UNCW students pay each year. The station has also launched an online fundraising campaign to raise more money for the next school year. Once the station receives its full license to broadcast, it will be an online streaming radio show with a full schedule, advertisers, and promotions.
UNCW's 6th annual Showcase of Undergraduate Research and Activity is underway. With over 140 posters on display, undergraduate students had a chance to showcase and present their scientific research to the public. The showcase, sponsored by several UNCW organizations, will be on display in the Randall Library until May 2nd.
UNCW Spotlight is our new segment where our Seahawk reporters will highlight interesting places on campus. Today, we'll give you an inside look on the Center of Marine Biology off of the Masonboro Loop Road. Here's Caroline Walkup with UNCW Spotlight.
Hi, I'm Caroline Walkup with Seahawk Central News. In our new segment, UNCW Spotlights, we will be discovering interesting aspects of UNCW that may have never crossed your mind. Today, we're at the Center for Marine Science.
While I was visiting, I got the chance to sit down and speak with Dr. Baden, the director of the Center for Marine Science.
The center is an educational and research and outreach facility for the university. It's the largest research endeavor at the university as a whole. And marine science generates about 65% of all the grant support that happens at the university. The facility is composed of 4 different buildings currently. The first building is the original Center for Marine Science that was completed in 1999, year 2000 actually. And that particular facility has core resources, large pieces of equipment that students can work on and learn to utilize. We have laboratories, 34 laboratories, 34 offices, and space for students as offices when they're not in the laboratory. And included in that, the facility that we're sitting in right now is the operations wing of the Center for Marine Science that was completed in the year 2009. And in the year 2010, the oyster hatchery, funded by the state of North Carolina, was completed. We're now in the process, as you drove in today, you saw the clearing for the new Mar Bionic, the new marine biotechnology building. That's a unique facility because it will be aimed at economic development, a business-university relationship. Half of the building will be composed of small businesses that want to interact with our marine sciences, taking their basic science into products and processes.
As you can see, there's a lot going on at the Center for Marine Science. Thanks for tuning in to UNCW Spotlight. I'm Caroline Walkup with Seahawk Central News, TLTV.
Thanks, Caroline. The Wilmington International Airport is making some positive changes to their runways, courtesy of the Federal Aviation Administration. These upgrades include energy and cost-efficient LED lights, new parking lots, and first-class options for U.S. Airways. The project will make the airport larger, safer, and greener. The changes should be completed by this Thanksgiving, and first-class seating will be available this October. Although the changes may be beneficial, they could lead to an increase in airline prices.
Let's switch gears and head over to the sports desk with the latest athletic news. Ben, take it away.
Thanks, Sarah. The future is now, people, so let's get into your UNCW athletics update. We'll kick things off with the Diamond Hawks, who have been very busy as of late. After losing to in-state rivals ECU and North Carolina State, they traveled to New York for a weekend series against the Hofstra Pride. In Game 1, the Seahawks prevailed 11-6. Designated hitter Thomas Pope went 3 for 5 with a homer, 5 runs batted in, and 3 runs scored. Left fielder Alex Hill went 3 for 4 in the game with 2 runs batted in and 3 runs scored as well. Daniel Cropper picked up the win on the mound, going 5 1/3 innings with 7 strikeouts and 5 earned runs allowed. In Game 2, the Seahawks won again, this time 8-2. Pope continued his hot streak, going 3 for 4 at the plate with 2 runs. Travis Bradley picked up the win after throwing 4 2/3 shutout innings. In Game 3, unfortunately, Hofstra picked up the victory 6-4. Third baseman Matt Campbell went 2 for 5 with a home run for the Seahawks, and right fielder Andrew Kane chipped in a home run. And Thomas Pope finished the series going 1 for 3 with 2 runs scored and picked up CAA Player of the Week honors on Monday for the second time this year. It's only fitting that on Easter, a guy named Pope breaks through for the Seahawks. Moving on to the UNCW men's golf team, who won the 2011 CAA championship by 10 strokes this past weekend. Leading the way was Colonial Medalist Award winner Josh Brock, who came into the tournament as reigning CAA Golfer of the Week for the third time this season. He shot a 72 on Friday, a 71 on Saturday, and a 71 on Sunday at the notoriously difficult Pinehurst No. 8 golf course at the Pinehurst Golf Resort. Said Brock, quote, "I struck the ball well all week and was able to make some needed putts down the stretch," end quote. It's UNCW's first conference championship since 2005 and our third of all time. Thomas Bass and Payne McLeod also finished in the top 10 as UNCW beat second place VCU by a combined score of 892 to 882. Congratulations to them. Switching subjects to college football, I'd like to make a few remarks on controversy surrounding Jim Tressel, head coach for the Ohio State University Buckeyes. Granted, he did make some mistakes that he has admitted to, namely that he lied to Ohio State administrators about knowledge that star quarterback Terrell Pryor and 4 other players sold memorabilia in exchange for tattoos at a local tattoo parlor. The university suspended the players for 5 games and Tressel for 2 originally. But Tressel, being the upstanding man that he is, asked for his suspension to be extended to equal that of his players. So now they'll all miss the first 5 games of the 2011 season against mediocre competition. Not that big of a deal, right? Well, if you pay close attention to the sports media world like I do, then you've noticed that talking heads, commentators, and even former Ohio State players are roasting him over the coals of an open fire. Former Buckeye QB Kirk Herbstreit said that this week that, quote, "it would be difficult moving forward with Jim Tressel," end quote. Well, Mr. Herbstreit, was it difficult for the University of Connecticut to move forward with their basketball coach, Jim Calhoun, after he was suspended 3 games for failing to create an atmosphere of compliance? Because it didn't seem like it was difficult for them to move on with him when they were cutting down the nets after beating Butler for the national championship in Houston. Each day I started to put more and more doubt into the NCAA as a governing body. Corruption bleeds from the top down, as was apparent in March when reports broke that Fiesta Bowl CEO John Junker broke federal campaign laws, which some believe are a joke in themselves, by asking his employees to donate their cash to political candidates and later reimburse them with Tostitos Fiesta Bowl money. He also charged hundreds of thousands of dollars for lavish parties, junkets, galas, and soirees, including a $30,000 birthday party for himself. Oh yeah, and he tried to cover it all up when investigators first started snooping around. Now, Junker was fired, as I believe he should have been, but the media scrutiny was far less intense, even though he and his buddies that run the Bowl Championship Series have a lot more power on the college football landscape than one coach, even the coach of a powerhouse like Ohio State. Furthermore, I would argue that that type of corruption is commonplace at the top of the BCS, as is Tressel's behavior all throughout college sports. A coach can only look after his players to a certain point, and then it's up to them on whether or not to take money from an agent, accept jerseys and watches from local business owners, or even trade their own gear for a few tattoos. I think they used to be called bartering, and now it's being treated like nothing less than high treason. And that was a few remarks. If you like that or have any comments whatsoever, find me on Facebook and let me know. Well, that wraps it up just about. In NASCAR news, Jimmy Johnson won a stunning 3-way photo finish at Talladega a couple weeks ago. He beat Clint Boyer by 0.02 of a second. It was a tie for the closest race since the advent of electronic scoring. And let me be the last to wish you a happy Easter. He is risen. Back to you, Janae.
Thanks, Ben. As a quick update, the UNCW Board of Trustees met today at the university. They will be holding their regular quarterly meeting tomorrow, which is open to the public. It's scheduled for 8:45 a.m. and will take place in Burney Center.
Now's the time where we get the latest big screen updates and critics on campus. Here's your host, Chris Vickery.
Thanks, Sarah. Welcome everyone to Critics on Campus, where we review the latest movies in the Wilmington area. I'm your host, Chris Vickery, alongside my co-host for the day, Jeff Walls. We have 2 movies, as always, this week, and the first was Scream 4, which we both had pretty strong opinions about. So
yeah, this is it's definitely one of those movies where if you're a fan of the series, chances are you're going to watch it.
Mhm.
If you're not a fan of the series, or you just simply haven't seen them, like I did, guilty, you might be lost. It was halfway through the movie, and I wasn't quite getting it. I'm not sure how you were feeling.
It was definitely You can tell from the previews that it was a movie that wanted to draw attention to itself as a genre flick. And that was kind of something that I suppose was part of the earlier Screams. But this Scream 4 is supposed to be a reboot, a new trilogy. And I didn't see the appeal of it, honestly.
I think the timing might have been a little off too. Like if this was a Halloween thing, you know, it's October, November, and it's really in the season, you know, it probably would have been more appropriate, but it's so random, you know, we're about to go into summer and just, it's not the time for this kind of genre.
No, and it was goofy. There was nothing scary about it. There was no horror to it. Yeah. There was no surprise. It was just this over-the-top kind of almost spoof of every horror movie ever made, right from the get-go. And I found myself halfway through saying, why are we still here? Can we leave early?
Definitely a movie for the fans, but if you aren't familiar with it, I would not recommend it.
Or if you go with friends, a lot of friends who can really laugh at a movie, even if it's terrible. You know, if you got a group of friends like that, you'll have a blast at the theaters. But if you're going to see like a quality movie, may not be the best choice. But if you had to rate it out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
I'd give it a 2. It's not bad enough to be a 0, because I can tell that there's definitely something there for fans. But I'd give it a solid 2 on production value and just overall execution.
I think I'd have to be with you on that, because I cannot give it lower than I gave Sucker Punch. The next movie, however, is Hannah, which was released by Focus Features.
As soon as I saw Focus Features on there, I went in there not knowing anything about the movie. I remember the trailer. As soon as I saw Focus Features, I said, this is going to be a good movie. So I remember we were there watching it, and I just halfway through the movie, I just woke up and said, wow, this is really good. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. I couldn't find anything bad about it, actually.
No, you really halfway through realize that, like, it's just, I'm not watching an action flick, which is what it was marketed as, and I think that's kind of counter to what the movie actually is. There's a lot of great character in it.
Absolutely. It's almost like an independent film that was made feature length. You know, it's like something you'd see in like Sundance or Tribeca or something. It was just a really good kind of breaking conventions, but in the still way, you know, still has a lot of the action we're familiar with.
The music was good and very different, but a lot of the sequences, it didn't go for the stark realism that a lot of movies go for today. It had a lot of very poetic imagery and all that stuff, which was cool, but it was put in such a way that it was really engrossing to watch.
Yeah, there were some scenes that could have been just standalone films. You know, some of them were just like, you know, her running through with like this trance music and like lighting is strobing, and there's just a lot of really fun parts in the movie that everybody can kind of like.
Yeah, and definitely it's an action flick that if you're just going for a Friday night blockbuster, it's going to satisfy your needs. It's got awesome awesome chase sequences, not really car chases, awesome action sequences in general. But if you're going to find something maybe a little bit more substantial as well, there's a lot there to find. So out of 5 stars, what would you give it?
I absolutely give it a 5. Just on its pure production, execution, the story, the look of it is great. It's got wonderful music. The acting was superb, and just all around a really good movie.
And I'm going to have to agree with that. This is the best thing I've seen since Rango, back with Andy. So definitely an awesome movie to see. Well, that's all for this week. This segment was brought to you by Carmike Cinemas. Stay tuned next time for more reviews of the latest movies coming to the big screen. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Vickery, alongside Jeff Walls. See you next time.
Thanks, Chris. As a final note for tonight's episode, Seahawk Central News is looking for new reporters, writers, assistant editors, and anyone interested in working in our broadcast studio. To inquire, please contact the Student Media Center in the Fisher Building at 910-962-3229.
That wraps it up for this edition of Seahawk Central News. Special thanks to the Communication Studies Department, UNCW-TV, and the Wilmington Costco for making our show a reality.
Even more thanks to Joe Browning, Bill Denome, and Dustin Miller. Check out the latest edition of the Seahawk at newsstands all over campus. Remember, you can keep up with Seahawk Central News by stopping by youtube.com/TealTV2010. On behalf of Teal TV, we wish everyone an awesome summer and look forward to returning next semester. I'm Janae Randall.
And I'm Sarah Lively saying, so long, Seahawks.